So with that said, I'll call the meeting to order. Acting as chair this evening in the absence of our normal chairman, Nazi Alkalasi, and present before for the board tonight, we have.
We're trying to get this stuff.
Who's speaking?
I think Steve and Noah and saying.
You can go now.
You got everybody muted for me there?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, so again, we're going to call the meeting to order. It's 6:35 p.m. and we have Troy Larson here this evening. We have Veronica Debonese here. We have myself, Jim Akabachi, clerk, acting chair this evening. And I'm looking to see, we don't have enough members here. Oh, there's Richard. Sorry, thank you for putting your finger up, Richard. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's enough to open the meeting. Hopefully one more.
I don't believe Jacob will be joining us
No,
either
on
tonight.
January 6th, when you approached the land trust.
Thank you, Alan. So we've got 4 members here. For anybody that's listening that has anything that needs a supermajority, you when it comes your turn, if it becomes your turn, and that's the case, with only 4 members present, we'll give you the opportunity to continue. If there's anybody that knows that that's going to be the situation right now, just use the comments thing there and put your hand up. The reactions down at the bottom of the reactions, there's a little place where you can click, put your hand up, and then I'll know you want to speak out of turn, and I'll hear you first if you want to continue. That said, I'm going to go right into the preliminary business, which is the approval of meeting minutes from January 6th, 2021. Go ahead.
Sorry. Did you say that I missed what you had said? Are we short a board member? Is that what you said?
We have 4 members, which is enough to conduct business. It's just that if somebody wanted to be heard by 5 members, I'm just saying, click the hands up thing or put your hand up. I'll call you out of turn and let you continue if you want to. Nobody's done that yet. So it looks
Thank
like
you.
okay, no problem. So looking at the agenda under preliminary business, the first item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from January 6th, 2021, January 13th, 2021, January 27th, 2021, February 10, 2021, February 24, 2021, March 10, 2021, and March 24, 2021. These are all from last year. This is not any of this year's minutes. These are minutes that, for whatever reason, didn't get voted on. We've had Zoom meetings, we've had in-person meetings, we've had staff members that have had to go out on medical issues and are working remotely. So they've all been typed up. I've reviewed them all. If I can get any of the other 3 members present tonight to make a motion to approve, I've reviewed them. They appear to be okay. We need a motion to approve, and we can move, and a second, and we can vote.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Richard. Richard's made the motion to approve. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Who seconded that? Troy? Thank you, Troy. Okay, so Troy, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, Veronica?
Yay.
Richard?
Yay.
And myself, yay. The minutes are approved, and I will go into the office and sign them later in the week. Second item on the agenda under preliminary business from it's application 4-19 LD Holdings LLC. They're requesting an amendment to the special permit for 6 Thatcher Lane. That's a thing that appears on map 108 lot 10006Q-1. Anybody here from LDE Holdings? They're not here. I think that was I think that's Trade Routes. I'm not sure. And I think they're looking to add a delivery permit I'm not gonna vote on it. I'm not gonna act. I'm gonna table it, and when we get to the end of the night, we'll call it again. If there's nobody here, we'll continue it. Third item on the agenda, 2026 Nickerson Extension of Variance, 3 Oak Hill, map 39, lot T5, 4-19. Anybody here from?
Yes. Hi, Attorney
Go
Jillian.
ahead. Go ahead, Attorney Morton, go ahead.
Okay. So this is an extension for a variance that you had voted on last year at 3 Oak Hill Road. So you recall that's one of those waterfront properties. And they were looking to raise an existing cottage, making it livable for Mr. Nickerson and his family. So that's been approved since though the delay and the increased costs in building materials. He's finally at the point now to get things rolling and got some quotes that were reasonable. So it only was a year. So we're coming up on that deadline. So we're asking for another year, an extension. Nothing has changed as far as the plans go that you've already approved.
So if I understand correctly, it was a variance. A variance is only good for a year. They're coming on to a year and they want another year on that before they break ground to make sure it stays active.
That's correct. And his plan is to break ground by the end of March, weather permitting. So
Okay.
it's not like he's going to take another full year and then come back to you for another year.
Okay. So that said and understood by me, I think that's pretty much a rubber stamp item. If one of you folks would like to make a motion, and we can move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second on Veronica's motion to approve this extension?
A second.
Seconded by Richard Simple. Yea or nay, Troy?
Yay.
Yea or nay, Veronica?
Yay.
Yea or nay, Richard?
Yay.
And yea, myself. It is approved. You're extended for a year.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, next item on the agenda under preliminary business, number 4, the Solar Bylaw Committee, appointment of a new member. So that everybody on the board knows what's going on with this. Chris Conti was our representative to the Solar Bylaw Committee. For whatever reasons that are not germane to this conversation, he's left both the zoning board and the bylaw committee, and the bylaw committee is seeking us to say who's going to be in his place. It's been 3 meetings they've had since that happened. Nazi attended the first one, asked me to attend the second. I attended the third this evening. They usually meet on the same night as us, an hour and a half just before us. I've been to 2 meetings. Nazi's been to 1. Is there any other member? I didn't say sucker, I said member of the board that would like to volunteer to be that person? Nobody's going to volunteer and nobody's going to be.
I wish I could, Jim, but my time, I really
know.
don't have the extra time.
No, Richard, I kind of get it. And I can tell you that when I was attending the meeting tonight, I told them, I know the members of the board and their other commitments and their personal lives. The only person I don't know well enough to speak my opinion of whether they'd be able to or not would be Troy. And I don't see Troy jumping up and down saying me. So he almost looks relieved that I'm letting him off the hook. So my solution to that is I'll continue to attend unless Nazi's here and able to attend. And I'm going to report through our planner and through to the selectmen that it will be either myself or Nazi that will attend the remaining meetings. I think Nazi and I can switch off and keep some continuity. He kind of suckered me into it and asked me to cover one night, and now I've done 2, and we'll take it from there. If that's okay with the
Yeah.
board.
Well, Jim, I have a question for you about
Yep.
the committee. I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but do you know when the Solar Bylaw Committee was formed, and is there an end date? Is there, or what's the purpose?
Okay. I'll give you the best I can, and, don't count what I tell you as gospel, but I hope I'm right. So the bylaw committee, first of all, I believe a bylaw was hastily prepared and voted on at town meeting last. And that was in reaction to the many solar fields of a large nature that have happened lately. And speaking very bluntly, I think it's basically the AD Makepeace projects in particular that have members of the town in alarm, if you will. So there was a bylaw that was created pretty quickly, thrown out there to the town voted on it, there it exists. Then the committee was formed thereafter. So I'm saying as long as 6 months, but I probably say they're less than 6 months in existence. They've struggled to rewrite, fix isn't the word, polish that bylaw. They work really hard at it. They're really, as a committee, I got to tell you that they're very sincere. They don't seem to have an axe to grind with any one particular. When I first went to attend the meeting, I thought this was like, let's just shut down AD, but I think they're doing a good job in general and being very fair. And as to your question, when does it end? I don't think there is any end. I think from what I can see, they're gonna struggle to get something on this next meeting, this next town meeting for approval. They're, I'd say 85 to 90% there in consensus, but they're not in consensus on what they want to present. If they can't become in consensus before this meeting, which means they have to act within the next week or so, then they'll just continue and they'll be on the fall meeting. I would hope, and I think what's going to happen is they'll put whatever they can agree on in front of this meeting, get it voted yay or nay. That'll help them with some direction going forward, and they'll continue and then put more edits and amendments to the bylaw for the fall town meeting. That's how I see it going. Again, it's not gospel, it's not absolute, but that's just what I would think will end up happening.
Okay, so the purpose, as I understand it, basically from what you're saying, is to get a decent bylaw in place regarding the current climate of solar.
So, yeah, exactly. There was little or nothing in the way of bylaw regarding solar. Things started happening. There was a reactionary bylaw that was created, I won't say in haste, but hastily. Now this is going to be the polishing of that bylaw, and it's going to, and you throw it out there, you put it in front of the town, they vote for it, and then those who would apply the rules of that bylaw will use and abuse it as they will, and you'll say, oh, we did this right, we did that wrong, and you adjust it, and after 2 or 3 go-rounds, we'll have a good bylaw. I don't see it happening any other way. I mean, they're trying to do it perfect. I cautioned, I said my comments, and by the way, the ZBA member isn't a voting member. They let us have input as representing the zoning board. But there's a board that does the voting, and we participate, but they let us participate completely. And one of the things I added this evening is don't try to make it perfect. Just try to get something to work from, and then fix it as you go. And they kind of agreed. So that said, if you guys want to continue the way we are, I'll between Nazi and I will try to continue to attend the meetings. Anybody else on the board that wants to click in on one of the meetings and listen, I can very happily share the link. And
I'd like to
go ahead.
participate. I'd like to go to the next meeting and just kind of observe, and
Do you want to be the board's rep?
I'm not going to commit that quickly, Jim.
I was just wondering, Jim, is that something that maybe we can alternate on, or is it something that we need to have one member all the time?
Well, the problem with it would be nice if if everybody could participate to some degree, but the bad part of it is is, it's, these guys spend 6 months putting a bylaw together, they argue things, and then we come in the 5th month and start talking about things that they argued for 3 months. And it's counterproductive. If you wanted to look at what they've done so far and make outlines and attend the meeting and ask to be heard, I'm sure they'd hear you. Just like they, I try not to say too much when I'm there, the couple of meetings I've been there. But what I have said, they've been receptive to. For instance, today I said, I suggest you change the word parcel to area, and they loved it because it solved a dilemma that they argued over for 45 minutes. So not that I'm a genius with my wordage, but
So-
Did I hear you right, Jim? You said you don't talk too much at that meeting?
yeah, well,
I saw you laugh at that, Rick.
Too much is a matter of opinion, the meeting lasts an hour and a half and I only talked for 90 minutes.
Well,
Um, I did see you laugh at that, Rick. I gave a little smile on that one myself.
Well,
But
I'll find a way to make you smile one way or another.
Jim, I think Chris was a voting member on that committee.
I don't know if he
On
was
the solar
voting.
committee.
He was the ZBA representative to the committee. Maybe once we're voted in, then we become a full member. Honestly, I don't know the answer. So,
Okay.
once we've got to go back, it's got to be the selectmen that's got to appoint one of us. We got to make our recommendation to the selectmen. I'm sure whoever we recommend, the selectmen will then pass on to the committee. And if the committee wants to make that member have a vote, terrific. If not, who cares? I mean, I don't mean that casually. I mean, they're doing a good job and they accept your input. So the vote is almost moot. So what are your guys' pleasure? Do you want to continue with Nazi and I? Do one of you want to take the next meeting, and what do I tell the selectmen?
Well, I would go to the next meeting.
You'd like to attend, or you'd like to?
I don't want to say that I will,
You just like to.
I just
be
want to
invited.
see
You'd like to win.
the
There's no
process is
meeting.
and how it functions. And if it sounds like it's to get a pretty decent, like you said, a working bylaw in place that works a little better for the town. So that's not like a real long-term thing. It's something I could possibly get into my schedule if we're not talking that it's going to take years. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. Something that I could potentially,
You might be able to make more than one meeting, is what you're saying.
yeah. They meet the same amount of times that we do, right? Two, second
Yeah,
and fourth.
except they're meeting next Tuesday, which is not, that's because they want to try to get something done before,
Right.
the next town meeting's March 3rd, I think, and you don't want to go March 1st to the selectmen and say, here, this is what, this is what the committee came up with. Read it and vote on it and put it on the, you got to give people a little time to do things. And in order for them to get something on this very next town meeting, they need to meet next week and agree whether they're going to present what they've got so far or whether they're just going to continue to the fall.
All right, so it's a 5 PM Tuesday, is that right? Or can
4
you send me
o'clock.
the details later?
4 o'clock,
4 o'clock?
4 to 5:30. They meet 4 o'clock to 5:30. And Aaron, do you know anything? Can you add anything or?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything going on. I can't answer whether or not, I know that the members of this committee were made up, I think it was at town meeting. And you kind of explained it was like a board made to a reactionary policy change in the bylaw. And they're still working on it and they're trying to get it done. Ken's more involved in it than I am, so he would know more if he was here, but you kind of summed up everything pretty good.
So what we're left with, folks, is a board, a workshop that's been 3 meetings or a month and a half looking for an official member of this board. And the selectmen are looking for a recommendation from this board. Do we want to tell them we're going to play the wait and see game and send Veronica next week? Or do we want me to continue or Nazi to continue and have Veronica come look in on it and decide whether she wants to veto our position and take over?
Oh, Jim, if you want to do it, that's great.
It's not that I want to do it. I want to offer the board some consistency. I don't want to, Nazi went, then I went to 2 meetings. Now we send Veronica in for another meeting and we don't give them a nominee. They're trying to get something in front of the board before March 3rd.
I nominate Jim.
And it's not a it's, you know, I'd really like you to be at what I'd like maybe to happen is that I go to the meeting so there's consistency. You show up at the meeting, you interject all you want, and I think you're a perfect candidate to take it forward, and then there'd be some overlap. But if you go to the meeting and say, oh, Jim, I can't deal with this band of buffoons, I don't want any part of it, we don't have to say it on a Zoom meeting.
Okay, so we're both going to be at the next meeting.
If that's okay with the other members of the board. I hope that somebody from the bylaw committee meeting for solar is listening.
I'm good with your
Okay.
decision, Jim.
Good decision? Okay, so, Aaron, would you get for us to the, is Sonia here? Well, I'll ask Sonia. Sonia, would you get to us, to the selectmen that we're proposing for both myself and Veronica to be at the next meeting, and that if after one meeting, Veronica still feels like she wants to participate, she'll take it from there forward. How's that?
I'll let them know. I'll talk to Ken tomorrow. I'll let them know.
Yeah.
Him know that was your
Oh.
decision.
Tell them we talked about it for an hour and a half.
I will.
It's a difficult decision, but we got there.
Yeah, I'll tell them.
Okay, thank you. So continued public hearings. The very next victim is 2-22. There are no continued public. I'm sorry, we're going right into brand new public hearings that will need to be read in. Aaron, you're going to read this in for us, 2-22?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Okay,
The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on February 9, 2022 at 6:30 PM via Zoom to consider petition number 2-22 for a special permit from the requirements of Article 3, Section 320 and Article 14, Section 1460 under the Wareham zoning bylaws to CNS Home Solutions LLC of 177 Huntington Ave, number 1700, Boston, Mass. 02115, seeking to create a new dwelling within the basement of their existing building located at 459 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, Assessors Map 61, Lot 1022 in the WV-1 zoning district.
so who's here for this?
Hey, everybody.
PK Boston Law, go ahead.
Hi, Rob Pellegrini. I'm actually an attorney in Bridgewater, Mass. My client CNS is actually managed by Kyle Cabral, and he's on the Zoom call as well. If you have any questions about CNS, although they have an address up in Boston, they're actually local as well. This is one of many that they've got under their ownership now. And the reason we're before you is that they actually applied for a permit to actually go from the existing 4 residential units to add 1 on the main floor. So what they're proposing really is to add a 1-bedroom unit. During this whole process, what it did allow is for them to also propose to bring the number of parking into compliance. So I think there's currently 4 total for the 4 units. So they're proposing 10, although they only need 9.5 because of the one bedroom that they're proposing. So
So
when they-
let me just interrupt you for 1 second, sir.
sure. Yeah.
So they've got 4, they want to go to 5 units. Are they taking like a 2-bedroom and making 2 ones, or how are they?
No, what it is now is on the first level is vacant. So they're taking half of that and they're just adding a 1-bedroom unit there. The rest of it is remaining as is.
Okay, I didn't mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want.
No problem. That's a fair question. So really what they're proposing is to add one bedroom to the property. So when they applied, they were told that this requires a permit because they're in the Wareham Village 1, which for a 5 family would require this relief. So I just wanted to just quickly go through the requirements for the board, and you can stop me at any time. There's no exterior change at all, so there's no real visible impact to the area. Of course, by adding the requisite number of parking, it's actually, I'd probably argue that it's actually improving because there's obviously a much greater chance that everyone will be parking on the property. I mean, obviously it's an appropriate location. It's used for residential now. And there's no nuisance or hazard to vehicles. And as a matter of fact, again, we're getting the likelihood of more vehicles off the street, which is, I think, a good thing. The adequate appropriate facilities, I mean, clearly it's a residential now, it's just going to continue to be that way. And it conforms to all other areas of the zoning bylaw. So again, just to sort of wrap it up, I really don't want to make it into anything more than it is. We're really just coming to you to propose adding 1 bedroom / 1 unit to this property.
Okay, so help me and help the rest of the board and anybody listening understand 459 Main Street. I believe that's if we came down the center of town from the hospital and drove past CVS, with CVS being on our right, it would be on the same side of the street as CVS, and it would be somewhere after CVS, but before we turn right onto Elm Street. Is that correct?
So I'm guessing that my client, Kyle, can answer that better than I did include with the application some Google Street views of everything around the property on all sides so that you could see it without wondering about this. But maybe Kyle, you can jump in for a minute and answer him on that.
Yeah, so if you're traveling down Main Street and you're kind of you're forced to either go straight to like the Mill Pond Diner or you can veer right. So if you're veering right, it's probably I would say like a quarter of a mile down on your left. So if you're traveling that direction, CVS is actually on your left side. Once you're
you're coming from the direction of the police department and you're heading south.
Yeah, exactly. Well, going actually past the Wareham Water Department and traveling down that road and taking a right. And then the house is on the left and you keep going straight, and then the CVS is also on your left.
Okay. So I get where it is. I hope everybody else on the board kind of gets it. So Aaron, did you have any of those pictures that they supplied? Can you share the screen and show us the property from the outside?
Yep.
And while you're looking for that, you said it's in Wareham Village 1. I'm not looking at the zoning map, but I thought Wareham Village 1 ended at CVS and it became Wareham Village 2 on that side of the street. I know, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, there it is on the screen.
Let me go to the first picture. Hold on. Yeah, so they're probably a little difficult to see, but this picture is the immediate butter to the right from the street view of it. This picture is the immediate butter to the left from the street view. And then I'm assuming this is the property. Is that correct?
It looks like it, yes.
Yeah, I know that's the property. Yep.
So this is the property right here. I have also, I can show you the site plan they have in this, and also a separate document has the floor plan, what the floor plan is going to look like for the place as well, if you want to look at that.
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay. So this is the floor plan. Just as a caveat to this, I've been working with Mr. Pellegrini on this for a little bit now, and he's been really good with, working with me and getting information I needed and communicating with everything. So, we've talked a lot about this, and I spoke to the building commissioner, David Quina, about some things in terms of the project, and it was okayed by him. So
So it's not in the flood zone. It's got the amount of, is it a walkout to the rear or something like that?
Yes.
It's not subgrade, is that it?
Yeah,
that
so
again?
I could answer that. So yeah, if you can do a Google Street View of the property, it probably gives you more context, but it is above grade to the backside. Basically the back, there's two means of egresses, but on the driveway side, if you're traveling down the driveway, it is above grade. You walk right into the unit itself.
I can pull up the street view on Google real quick.
Okay, while he's pulling that up, anybody on the board want and ask any questions, please butt in anytime.
There was mention that there's not going to be any physical change, but the property would have to change to have parking, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're going from what's there now, which is 4 to 10. I'm hoping that Ken can pull up the site plan for us as well, so you can see
So
that.
is this just so the applicant, is this side, this is the property, or is it on the other side of the street?
Oh, you're in Bridgewater right now. It's actually
Oh.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I didn't
Wrong
realize I
town.
just did that.
They moved the house. It was that guy from Falmouth. He can move them quick.
Hold on one
And
second.
just so the applicant knows, we do have photos, the Google Photos. I think this, pulling it up on the computer is for the rest of the viewers to be able to
Oh, good.
know
Okay.
where it is.
Okay.
I was like, that looks a lot different than what I remember.
Yeah. Well, it saves a lot of time if we put this stuff up on the screen, because then, a citizen that may want to make a comment may not need to if we get all this out of the way up front. There it is.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's it.
here's it. So this is the building. Is the parking around the right side, correct? So let me move down the street a little bit.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's the parking area that looks like they're going to redo and add some spots to.
So you're going to go from street grade down to be able to walk into the basement level, and down at that level where that dumpster is now, you're going to add some additional parking.
Yeah, this might be a good angle right there. So like right where that last window is, right, that's where the entrance is to the unit. But correct. So where that dumpster is going to be removed and probably set back a little further. And then basically there'll be some proposed extra spots there and to the right. And we do also have that site plan as well. But that's essentially the extent of the changes.
I'm
I can pull-
satisfied with what I've seen. Any other board members want to see anything else? Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there anything there as far as the sewer commission or anything? I'm just asking. I don't
Good
know.
question. Do you guys need permission from to increase the? Requena would have known that when they pulled the building permit, I would think. The building inspector,
Yeah, and when they go to have the hookup for this, they're gonna have to go to Guy to get that figured out as well. So
Okay, so it's either ZBA says, yeah, you can have the extra unit, or Wareham Pollution Control says, yeah, we can handle the flow, but it doesn't matter. They're both gonna happen. If they don't get both, they don't get the unit.
exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So we take care of zoning, and water pollution control will take care of the flow, and one bedroom, they'll probably be fine with that. And
Thank you.
okay,
So Jim, is there where there are 10 spaces, does this have to be reviewed? Does this need 10 parking spaces? Is there a requirement when there's 10 parking spaces in a structure?
So so this is something that I worked with Dave Requena on, and also the applicant, because of technically they only need 9.5 and not 10. And I talked to Dave, and Requena said they find that the site plan shows 10. But they only need 9.5 technically, because that was something that we were considering as whether this had to go through site plan review or not. But I spoke to him, and Dave said it didn't have to. So I trusted, what he said in terms of that.
9 autos and 1 motorcycle.
Yeah, it'd be weird to show half a parking spot on a site plan, but it does show 10 on the plan. But that's kind of what me and Dave Requena discussed in terms of the project.
So actually, for a half a car, we're gonna probably grant a little latitude on the interpretation. Good catch there, Veronica. But unless you, I'm okay with getting the cars off Main Street and parked on private property, as opposed to, that's 10 cars that aren't in the way when they plow snow.
I agree. However, what is the parking going to look like? Because it says that the existing impervious coverage is 31%. It's going to remain at 31%. How's that going to happen?
Probably
That means it's
impervious.
going to be a dirt parking.
Okay, I can answer you on that. By the way, good questions. But this is proposed to be gravel. Again, this is something that, came up sort of during the process. So we were trying to just make an improvement pretty obvious. Where this is residential, that was something that everyone that I was talking to there in town liked it like that. So that's what we thought was the way to go.
I'm sorry, they liked it. How? What did they like? That it was not.
To be gravel rather than paved. I mean, we could pave it. We could also just put 9, but we were thinking that, this would be an overall improvement if we just showed it as gravel with 10. So
That's been pretty common in a lot of commercial applications, and this kind of borderlines commercial when you start getting into 5 units. To have impervious parking area is not uncommon. It's actually, I think conservation kind of encourages it, Veronica.
Okay.
Any other questions by anybody from the board?
I do have another question.
Go.
So I see that there's a flood zone and wetlands right at the edge of where that proposed parking is going to be, and the parking actually goes into that. How is that? I'm just concerned with the flow of water and how
No.
that's.
Yep, everything you're saying is very practical. So I have no problem with what you are bringing up. So I brought that up as well. And if you look a little bit closer, sort of in the upper right-hand corner, the engineer sort of called out the 30-foot wetland buffer. So we're outside of that. And if we were building a structure in there, then we would have an issue. We'd have to actually go to Concom, but one, it's gravel, two, it's not within that. So at least I was told that we didn't have to do anything else, but
From
very
the
legitimate
conservation.
question.
And what does the backyard look like right now? Is it all lawn, or are there trees? Or what, is there any clearing that's not gonna need to take place to create these spaces?
What you're looking at is, and actually you could see it pretty well on the street view as well. It's grass now. The very top right-hand corner, there's some like overgrowth, and that's giving it a lot of credit, to be honest. It's not by any means anything that anyone would view as valuable, vegetation, other than, it seems to be some sort of overgrown area. But that's just in the very edge on the right-hand corner of parking spot that's labeled 8. Everything else is currently grass, and actually where that red car is parked, sort of in the back of the lot there, that what you're looking at there is they're probably parked on space 10 and a little bit of 9. So that might give you a little bit of an idea about what would be changing back there.
Okay, Veronica, are you still looking at it?
Yes, because I have questions in terms of what that clearing and how that creation of that parking is going to affect drainage, and I don't really,
Okay.
it's not clear to me that what's
Yeah.
going to happen, and I'm not educated enough to speak on what's going to happen. It just, to me, looks like there's a potential
That's
water issue with those
that's-
wetlands and flood zone being so close.
Yeah, that's also valid. However, because it's gravel, it's all gonna be pervious. So they're not adding any runoff to what's already there. So I hope that would answer it. Any more technical than that, I might have a hard time answering it, and maybe we would want to bring in an engineer to explain it. But really, all that's happening is whatever's paved now, that's as much as is going to be. So the only thing that's being added is gravel, which is obviously not creating runoff. Any water is still gonna flow away from Main Street towards that back area, but it'll still begin to infiltrate right around the proposed spot number 5. And then, it'll, if anything, it'll probably slow down the flow, because rather than just being really packed lawn, it will actually be gravel. But if you need more than that, we could actually bring an engineer in.
Jim, may I, through you, ask?
Go ahead, Richard.
I'm just curious if this is the runoff, could that be handled by some kind of a dry well with a grate over the top? You know what I mean? Like in the middle, if they're going to tear it up, if they're going to reshape it, they could pitch it towards a dry well, which would contain the majority of the added runoff.
Okay, so I'm obviously thinking on the fly here, but the edge of pavement wouldn't be changing from what it is now. But I think that they could certainly do something. Looking at the grading, which is also on the plan, you're in between contour lines there, and it's pretty much parallel, so they very well could create some sort of a swale at the edge of pavement that would bring the water sort of from the middle of the lot towards the edge of the lot, which would be, of course, on the right side. And that's certainly something they could do, but I have to say on that I think the gravel would do a better job than grass at sort of slowing the flow down and letting the water kind of infiltrate into the ground. But I'm not an engineer and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so I don't know that for sure. That was a joke. Lost on everybody.
I got it. No, I was muted. That's why you didn't hear my. So,
Just trying to lighten the mood.
Here's a question for everybody. If I'm interpreting this right, what we're discussing right now is the difference between 9 and 10. If we're going to round off 9.5, it could be rounded down because it's right there at a half. It could be rounded down to 9, could be rounded up to 10. If it was 9, this conversation wouldn't have to exist because 10 is the threshold that requires all this extra engineering. Is that right, Veronica? Is that what you?
No, not necessarily. And the only reason I say that is, so this change to 5 is a special permit, so it has to be not detrimental to the neighborhood. And so this project is coming before us because they want the extra apartment. And currently they are not meeting the requirement in terms of parking on that property. So this is kind of like, because they want to make a change, it's coming before us. And I think even if there were 9, going and increasing the parking on that property, and if there were no wetlands and flood zone behind it, I would be less concerned with it, and it probably wouldn't pop up, but it's a flood zone and wetlands very close to where they are trying to make this change. So I think it's an opportunity for us to have this property work well or better probably than it currently is by making slight changes. I don't know specifically what could help that, and I think it might be, I mean, I would like to see Charlie even take a look at it, not necessarily go and have, any major review, but just to have some kind of, just to say it's going to be fine. I'm not,
Can I make it?
I
just
don't
a
feel
general,
like it's going to be fine, but I don't know what the rest of the board feels like, so.
Do you mind if I make a
some-
comment?
Sure, Kyle. I was just gonna.
Yeah, no worries. So the if you don't mind sharing the street view again, it's just helpful to context. So when we bought this,
Sorry, I'm putting up right now.
Yeah, no
Keep
worries.
going. Let's see here. Okay.
So yeah, when we bought this property, so where essentially where the motorcycle is, right, that any of the overgrown, essentially that's the extent of it, that brush right next to it. But that dumpster was actually put there. You'll notice the red truck already being parked in that area. People are already utilizing the space, even though we tried to tell them not to use it. So anything we do, people go there, tenants go, they'll park where they want, they find a spot and they'll try to, because they don't want to park on Main Street, essentially. So anything we're doing here, and the argument here is that we're going to essentially rip up the ground and put gravel. And to what Rob's point was, it's just a better area for people to actually physically park because they're going to do it anyway. And that's one improvement that I can see having that. And I understand the wetland and the drainage. And if we need to get more understanding of that, that's fine. But if anything, in my perspective, is I'm going to basically improve the property, getting another qualified home in there, and really making the house a nicer place to live. And more so, it's much more comfortable area for all the tenants to park in as opposed to parking to the left side of the dumpster and moving that to the right spot. But yeah, I mean, to the extent of it, if you go down the street a little bit, again, back to around the motorcycle, the extent of any changes will be essentially cutting down that brush. So there's a little bit more context.
What I think we should do, Kyle, you can kill me afterwards, but is we should probably have Outback engineers provide a letter just to address Veronica's concerns, because I understand what she's saying, and I'm sure that they can very adequately do that. And I'd rather see that concern managed correctly rather than trying to float over it. So
Yeah,
I
That's
think
fine by me.
what we should do is probably have the engineer provide a letter that can be reviewed by the ZBA. Maybe we can do that by their next hearing if there's any availability on the agenda.
Well, first of all, I'm sure we can get you on the agenda for the next meeting. Veronica, I think you're gonna have concerns until you see something either in writing or otherwise. And so you'd probably not be comfortable voting tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Along the lines of a letter from Outback, I put a lot of credence on a letter from Outback. But I would suspect that Veronica would say, yeah, but how do I know? What about a peer review? So it might be appropriate to open up a 53G account, provide a little bit of money to let Charlie look it over. In the spirit of moving things forward quickly, I would suggest that Outback and Charlie could talk before the next meeting. And when that letter comes, Charlie could have already reviewed it, but I don't know how much to say we need in that account to pay Charlie to look at the letter.
Usually, well, you all probably know, but usually in these situations, Charlie will just give his estimate on looking at the application materials, and then he'll provide that to the applicant and through our office, and it'll work from there.
I guess what I'm asking, and Aaron, I guess what I'm imposing on the people that work in the town hall full-time is, could you coordinate it that for us in such a way that if the 53G account is acceptable to the applicant, that it can be formed, the money can be handed over to the town, and Charlie can look at it. So when you come back in 2 weeks, we've got not only the letter from Outback, but we've got Charlie's response to it. Otherwise, you're just going to come back next week with a letter, and Veronica's going to say, well, I think we should get peer review. And then you're going to have to come back 2 weeks after that. And Charlie might say, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. And, I hate to see this go on for a month and a half if it could be handled in 2 weeks.
Yeah, tomorrow I can reach out to Mr. Pellegrini. I can give him Charlie's contact as well if they want Charlie to work with Outback, kind of see if his time and schedule work hand in hand with things. If not, the other way would just be they would provide us the letter.
Yeah.
I would provide Charlie the letter and the plan. He would give his estimate, and he would review an estimate, and then it would work from there. So either way, but I'll get it figured out.
Yeah, so if Charlie says, I want $6 an hour to review this thing, and it's going to take 3 hours, they can put in $18 and pay Charlie, and it'll all happen, and we'll try to make it happen before the next meeting.
Yeah.
But I think his rates might be more than $6 an hour.
Yeah, he's good though.
He's good, okay. How about the applicant? Are you good with that plan?
Yeah, that sounds logical to me. Yeah.
All right, then I think we need to continue this until, and get it on the agenda for the very next meeting, which I guess I got to look at a calendar to see what that date is. That would be the 23rd of this month.
Yep.
Okay. So which one of you fine people would like to make a motion to continue and hear this on the 23rd and to include the discussion about a 53G being formed and letters being presented at the next meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Veronica. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Troy. Troy, yay or nay?
Yay.
Richard, yay or nay?
Okay.
Okay, Veronica, yay or nay?
Yay.
And myself, yay. Thank you all for your time and your input, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Do we need to get a time from you as well?
A time for the meeting?
Yeah, I thought when you continue the public hearing, we needed
It'll
time
be
and a date.
6 o'clock.
Thank
Six-
you.
6, I'm sorry. Thank you. I get what you said. It's actually 6:30. So
Okay,
anybody, before we officially continue that, if I can back up just for a minute here, I'm thinking we really didn't give anybody from the public an opportunity to make any comments. And if there's going to be comments, it would probably serve the applicant to hear them tonight rather than next week. Even though we voted to continue, can we kind of like table that for a minute and just ask if there's anybody online right now in the public that had any comments in favor or against this application? Hearing none, thank you all. Then we'll go with our continuance and move on to other business. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing is, I believe, 3-22, Bessie. They're looking for a variance for 2262 Cranberry Highway. Who's here to represent Bessie?
Let me, Mr. Chairman, let me read it in first real quick before you start.
Yep.
The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on February 9th, 2022 at 6:30 PM via Zoom to consider petition number 3-22 for a variance from the requirements of Article 6, Table 613 under the Wareham zoning bylaws to Michael and Janet Bessie of 2262 Cranberry Highway, West Wareham, Mass. 02576, seeking to construct a second principal residential structure located at 2262 Cranberry Highway, West Wareham, Mass. 02576, Assessors Map 104, Lot 1004 in the MR 30 zoning district.
Okay, and I guess it's Janet. I don't have your last name. You're the one that said you're gonna be the loudmouth for this group.
Well, I am the homeowner, so I am Janet Bessie.
Okay, Janet, thank you. All right, so what are you doing?
Well, we're building a structure. It will be a 3-car garage with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit over the garage.
So is this going to be attached to your existing, or is it going to be detached?
It's, well, yes and no. Where if you could maybe look at a picture of my house, it's the existing structure is old. Our original house was built probably, they can go back as far as 1860. The back of the structure, there's we did have a 2-car garage that I turned into a family room. So that's single story. There's nothing over that 2-car garage. So in putting up, I would like to get my garage back. My brother has moved in with us and he would like to have his own space. So we have decided that he would like a garage. My husband and I would each like a garage. So we have come up with a design of a 3-car garage and my brother living over that garage. To connect it, we're going to use a pergola type structure so that I can walk from my garage to my mudroom. My mudroom is not at the end of what is now my family room. It's kind of in the middle, and trying to connect it aesthetically doesn't work, and in many other ways doesn't work, because then I would actually lose windows in my family room, and I don't want a family room without a window. So trying to do this to keep light, to keep windows, and to make it comfortable for me to walk from my garage to my house, because that's ideal for everybody. We've come up with a pergola type structure So that I can, and I'd like to cover the pergola with like a clear plexiglass so that I'm not running from the garage to my mudroom. I can walk comfortably, although.
I think technically
It'll
that
be-
is considered attached, but that aside, there we go. There's some pictures.
Yeah.
Who's putting them up for us? Aaron, is that you?
Yeah, so here's,
Yeah.
it's kind of some architectural type pictures, some concepts, I guess you could call them.
The conceptual, these aren't the actual. All right, so I got, is this the existing 2-car garage being expanded into a 3, or is this 3 more garage
No.
space?
Right. So I don't have a 2-car garage anymore. And hindsight would have made things differently. If I had foresight, I would have had my mudroom at the end of it. With what I have now is a family room that used to be a
Okay, the old
2-car
2-car
garage.
The old 2-car became the family room, and now you're gonna add on to that. I get it. Okay,
I want my garage back.
I get it. And I don't think it creates a conflict of interest. I know exactly where this is. I've been in this yard. I've been in this house.
You know us.
well, in the mudroom.
You know us, Jim.
Yeah, yeah. So I know the property and the size of the property out back and et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. I mean, I've automatically keyed in on this. Most of my questions are for others listening, just so you don't
Yeah.
think I was making believe I didn't know you. I know you.
Yeah.
And I remember. So,
Yes.
any questions from Janet? Did you have anything else to say? Okay,
You ask
sorry.
me the questions, I'll tell you the answers if you need.
Sometimes people get upset when they don't-
My project manager is online with us as well. James Bustamante is here. He may
Okay.
have answers structurally that I might not, but I
If
should
we
be
need
able to
him-
answer most of the questions.
If we need them, we'll let them speak. We'll allow them to speak. And some people listening get a little concerned when they hear us calling each other by first names, but I'm more than comfortable with you calling me Jim, and if anybody feels as though there's a problem, because I know these people, I mean, gee whiz, I know almost everybody in Wareham. I've been here for almost a week now. So, that's just the way it is. Anybody from the board with any questions to this applicant? Troy, Veronica, Richard? No questions. Okay.
I don't have a question for the applicant, but I would like some clarification, if possible, regarding the building department letter, which states that this is a variance. So a couple of things. The letter says that the new structure could be treated as an accessory apartment if it were attached to the primary structure. However, you have chosen to keep it detached, but my first thing is that it looks attached, but I don't know, maybe there are requirements for attachment that are not there that need to be. The second thing is the zoning relief required is the same as what would be required for an accessory apartment if the structures were connected. This is MR 30, so 2-family dwelling is by right. So I'm a little confused why it's being treated as a variance.
Yeah. Me too.
Does anybody want to speak to that?
I could chime in, James with Longfellow Design Build, the builder for Janet.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Good evening, members of the board. Janet and I did have a Zoom meeting with Dave Rakina, and he stated that even though technically the structures are attached by a pergola, it is considered a detached structure because there is no habitable space connecting the two structures. So it is a detached structure, which I was a little confused also by the variance. I thought this would be a special permit. But in my opinion, in an MR 30, I think it was a by right usage, excuse me.
So, yeah, I get it. So I guess if we read the bylaws to the letter, if she connected them and it was habitable because there was walls on it, then it would be a by right. But because she's just having a clear roof over it and it's going to be open air on the walls, somebody could argue. And so rather than leaving room for argument, they're going to throw it in the zoning board's lap and let us grant the variance, and then it's legal.
That's correct. That's kind of how he put it to us. We didn't feel that we were even going to need, Janet and I both had discussed, and we didn't feel that we were even going to need zoning relief, and surprise, we did. So
Yeah, and you know, I get our commissioner's position too. He'd rather let 5 people make a vote rather than one person being the decision maker, and that way it's less likely to be challenged in the future. Again,
absolutely.
I'm going to turn. Troy, do you have any questions at this time? No. Okay, Rich, how are you doing? Mr. Semple, are you okay?
No, I'm okay, but
You got any
but
questions?
I no questions at this time, sir.
Okay, I'll turn to our troublemaker, Miss Debonese. No, she's not a troublemaker. Veronica, how are you?
Some might say that, Jim.
Yeah.
So I think I would say that I think there is a hardship here because of the current layout of the house that is existing, and connecting it would create an
Weird.
issue on how that would happen. So in my mind, I'm okay with this. I do think there's a hardship.
Okay, so nobody on the board is gonna give the Bessies a hard time yet. So let's see if there's anybody in the neighborhood that wants to support the project. Anybody from the public that would like to chime in at this time? Either in favor or against? Hearing none, I'm gonna move back to the board and say, I think it's appropriate. I think we've all heard enough. I think I can sense where everybody's feelings on this. If we could get a motion to close the public portion of this hearing from anybody, from any member.
I
of the
make a
board.
motion to close the public hearing.
And do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Veronica. So it's been moved and seconded to close the public portion of the hearing. Yay or nay, Troy?
Yay.
Yay or nay, Veronica?
Yay.
Yay or nay, Richard?
Yay.
And yay, myself. So the public portion of this has been closed. Nobody's allowed to speak now except members of the board. Members of the board, would somebody like to make a motion either in favor of granting relief or opposed to granting relief?
I make a motion in favor of granting relief
In the form of a variance with standard
In the form-
conditions?
in the form of a variance with standard conditions.
Okay, and do I have a second on that motion?
I'll
Second.
second.
Seconded and thirded. All in favor, say aye. Troy,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Eyes are above the nose. I say eyes too. So, guess what, Janet?
Yay.
If that was too easy, come back next week. We'll poke you with a sharp object.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Good night, James. Good night, Janet. Thank you very much
Good night.
both for coming. Good luck with your project.
Thank
Good night.
you.
That leaves any other business, and then I see on the agenda here zoning bylaw amendments. And I guess that Aaron maybe has something under that.
Yeah, Ken just wanted to put that on there in case, with all the changes happening with the zoning bylaw, we know like solar, Article 15 is getting tweaked a little bit, Article 14. If there's anything that the zoning board, wants to talk about, add as a change, or has any opinions on anything that could be changed in the zoning bylaws, feel free to talk about it now, or if not, you can reach out to me or Ken at any point. to talk about that. So that's kind of why that was thrown in there.
Before we do that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Veronica. Before we do that, what do you
Before
want
we
to
do
do?
that, do we have to discuss 4-19 LDE Holdings for
Thank you
their,
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here online tonight from LDE Holdings that would like to speak about their request for an amendment?
So I think what might have happened was they originally asked Ken to be on this meeting, and then the lawyer or whoever said 23rd, but the applicant said, oh no, I'll be there on the 9th. So I'm assuming that miscommunication turned into they're just going to be here on the 23rd. So I would recommend just leaving it on until next meeting for them to come and say their piece.
Do we need to vote on that, or can we just say it's continued until the 23rd?
It's just preliminary business, so it doesn't have to be like an official.
We don't need I didn't think we needed an official vote, but let's be, okay. Thank you, Veronica, for helping me not forget that, because I would have forgotten it. And so that goes back to anybody on the board that have any comments about zoning bylaws that they'd like to change. Do you want the whole bylaw changed? Do you want to tell the building commissioner to submit a completely brand, what do you want? Anything? No comments? Who wants to say I make a motion to adjourn? You guys like it here. a lot.
I'm trying to look at my notes, Jim. I did actually have a couple of things written down that I've throughout the year that.
I
about the
know. And
bylaws.
then when you put on the spot to say, okay, now's your chance
like,
to speak.
what the heck were they?
Aaron also said that we could stop in and talk with Ken during the week, right?
Yeah, you can come by the office, send an email, or come stop by, and you can talk to us about it.
One on that vein though, Aaron, again, anything that we would want submitted, we'd want to be in agreement as a board and submit it that on the 23rd of this month for it to be on town meeting on the 1st of March. We're giving them 5 days to see what we've said and read it and decide whether they want to put it on the agenda or not. So if anything,
I have the town meeting set for February 22nd.
You have a town meeting set for February 22nd?
It was
Yeah.
on, yeah, it was, yeah.
There's
Right.
a special town meeting on February 22nd. Yeah.
Is it a
Is that
special?
what you're talking about?
Is that when this would be heard? What's March 3rd?
I'm not sure March 3rd is, but I know there's a special town meeting on. Isn't there usually a town meeting spring and fall? Is that correct?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a newbie here, but
I know,
I'm
that's
assuming.
okay. So aren't we
I'm
all?
assuming the deadline for March 1st, I think that's when everything has to be submitted. That would be for the Springtown meeting, which I don't know what day that is, but it's probably usually around the same time every year. There is a special town meeting on February 22nd, but as far as I know they're discussing heavily the Article 26, which is the affordable housing article that was been talked about, but I don't know what else they're discussing that day. But I think if you submit before March 1st, it would go on Springtown meeting. And I think that's where that's what the solar bylaw committee is up against as well, in terms of their, deadlines and things like that.
So we could talk about it the next meeting if on the 23rd before.
I'm like 99% sure, but I will send an email tomorrow to all of you to make sure that is correct. But yes, I assume that's what's going on. I don't think anything will be February 22nd because I assume that's probably would already have to be submitted. I think everything this is for the one that's official one in the spring. It's my assumption.
And just to one more point to reiterate, because it could be easily overlooked. The Zoning Board of Appeals does not make recommendations for zoning bylaw changes directly to the town meeting. We make a recommendation to the planning board, and then the planning board decides whether they want to play nice and do what we recommended or change it or do whatever they want to it. And then they make recommendations for town meeting. Unless if there's something that, and I say this, not in deference to the planning board, but if there's something that you're really, really emphatic about and you want to have it in front of the town, you might want to consider a citizen's petition. And that said, I'm still looking for somebody to say I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There we
Oh,
go, Troy.
Troy has made a motion.
I,
to adjourn,
I second.
and Richard has seconded it.
I third.
And all in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? This meeting is over. Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Nice.
Aye.
Right.